All season long, Blue Jays fans have been holding on to hope that we would see Alek Manoah back on an MLB mound in 2025. But now, reports indicate that dream might not become a reality. Today, we're going to break down what's being reported about Alek Manoah, why it feels unlikely that he's going to return to the Toronto Blue Jays this year, and what it might mean for his future moving forward. So, it has been a while since I made a video about Alek Manoah, but here we are, folks. Manoah may not pitch in the majors this season. This is coming from Keegan Matheson, where he reported that Manoah may not have a spot available on the big league roster when he's completed his rehab assignment. Now, Manoah's rehab assignment is currently underway. His most recent outing was on August 7th. I'm recording this on August 12th, so it's actually not impossible that he could have a start before this comes out. I'm not sure when his next start is scheduled, but his last outing, he actually did pretty decent. He had 3 innings pitched, he had 5 hits given up, so maybe a couple too many hits right there. 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, 56% strike rate. Overall stats that aren't phenomenal, but the reason that I say that it went pretty well is because the stuff looked good. And when you're on a rehab assignment, especially down there in the minors, honestly, all you're really looking for is just having really nice stuff. And apparently for those people that were there, in the building watching it, it did look good, and that is ultimately what I care most about. I don't really care about your AA ERA if your fastball is eating and your breaking stuff is actually breaking, and apparently they were doing just that. Now, looking over at his entire rehab stint so far, or just everything that Manoah has done, 2025, it's been a very, very small sample size, and honestly, the results haven't been great, but again, we are talking about 5.1 innings of baseball. In that time frame, the guy's got a 10.13 ERA, so obviously not the results that you want to see. He's got a whip of 2.625, but that is just being elevated so much by this one outing that he had, 0.1 innings with the Florida Complex League, where he gave up 3 earned runs, in that 0.1 inning, which has an 81 ERA attached to it. So obviously, I'm not going to put too much stock into this, and I do like the reports that are coming out saying that his stuff looks relatively good. The last time that we saw Alek Manoah at the major league level, his stuff also looked pretty good. That was in 2024. At the beginning of 2024, the guy pitched 24.1 innings and had an ERA of 3.7. The whip was at 1.027, which is a very good spot to be, and that was the best that we'd seen him pitch since that 2022 year where he finished Cy Young 3, because as we can remember, 2023 was just a big, throw that one in the trash can, let's never talk about that again. 2024, for the limited amount of times that he was out there, 5 starts, the guy actually looked good, and then of course had to go under the knife. So it's encouraging to hear that the stuff looks good. The statistics, I'm not going to put too much weight onto that, but to Keegan Matheson's point, it might not actually have anything to do with whether or not he comes or doesn't come to the show. And the big reason why is when we go over here to the Toronto Blue Jays roster. They're pretty full, man. They are pretty full. They went out at the trade deadline, picked up a couple bullpen pieces, and they are full right now. Looking at that starting rotation, you got Jose, you got Kevin Gausman, you got Max Scherzer, Chris Bassett, and Eric Lauer right now, who are all slotted into a spot. And that doesn't even include Mr. Shane Bieber, who they also acquired at the trade deadline. Shane Bieber right now is actually doing very, very well down there in his rehab stint with the Toronto Blue Jays. In 2025, he's been through a bunch of different leagues at this point, so he's been everywhere, some of them with Cleveland, some of them with Toronto, but he's got a 2.45 ERA through 22 innings. The whip is well under 1, and his stuff has definitely been eating down there. So Shane Bieber, from my understanding anyways, has about 1 more start scheduled with the Buffalo Bisons, and then it's going to be go time, baby. Then it's Shane Bieber going to be up there in the MLB. So honestly, when you're thinking about this rotation and you're thinking about, well, where could Alek Manoah slot into this thing, it's tough to find a spot because you got Gausman, you got Barrios, you got all the guys up there who have been there and been doing it all season long, and now you're going to be adding in Shane Bieber as well. It's just really hard to find a spot for a guy like Alek Manoah, who, one, has only pitched 5.1 innings down there in the minors, and then two, those 5.1 innings, I mean, again, very small sample size, but haven't looked nearly as good as Shane Bieber. And three, and maybe most importantly, is coming off of one of the biggest injuries in all of baseball. So just a lot of question marks right there. I suppose you could make the argument, well, maybe we could put him in the bullpen, because you look over at that bullpen, and the one thing that I would say it's kind of missing right now is having a long man in there, right? Like having somebody in there that could come in and just absolutely eat up some innings when you're either 5 up or 5 down. And that is actually a potential argument here. There's an article here written by Just Baseball where they're talking about how exactly they see Alek Manoah potentially fitting in to this roster. Now, firstly, they start off by saying it's difficult enough for Toronto to have to decide whether to move to a 6-man rotation or move a starter to the bullpen down the stretch. But the conversation will become even more difficult when Manoah eventually makes his way back. This is, of course, including Shane Bieber into all of this. He's been a starter for his whole career. Is a move to a long relief role in the bullpen even in the cards? And they go on to talk about that. Where could he fit in? For me, it's difficult, man. It's tough because you're talking about somebody who you'd love to see up here, who you want to have opportunities at the MLB level, because let's face it, Manoah is going to play a role with these Toronto Blue Jays in the future. Maybe not this year, but in 2026, there's going to be some spots in that rotation available. Manoah's going to be up for one. So you'd love to see him in a role where he can be up against these MLB hitters. But do you want to take somebody who's been out of the game or out of the MLB game, for roughly over a year and coming off of a major injury and slot him into a role that he's never actually played in before, right? And that's kind of what this article goes on to argue. It's like, okay, you could do that, but do you really need to? And is it something that would be best for him and best for the team? Because let's not forget, too, Toronto Blue Jays, they are in a playoff race right now. They're probably going to be making postseason, but they want to be getting a bye. And you don't want to be giving up games because, you're trying to give Manoah some outings and, he's blowing it up in the pen because he's just not used to that. So you got to ask yourself, is that fair to him? And is that fair to the team overall? They go on to talk about how Alek Manoah's journey back to the big leagues has to do with his own performance and health. There are many, or as much as it's got to do with that, there are many other factors that might have an impact on his ability to pitch in MLB this season. To that point, Toronto's acquisition of Shane Bieber might have been made with the explicit thought that Alek Manoah wouldn't be ready by the end of the season, but of course, only time will tell. And honestly, I just tend to agree with them, right? Like, I look at this starting rotation right now, and I look at the bullpen, and the bullpen's pretty deep. I mean, the bullpen is pretty deep. Yes, we're missing that quote-unquote long man, but when you get Shane Bieber in here, and you could theoretically move Eric Lauer or Chris Bassett into that pen to take over that role, that just feels like such an easier and just more natural solution to me than trying to rush Alek Manoah back and bringing him up here and, throwing him into this position that he's never really played in before. Whereas, you could just take somebody like Eric Lauer, who has been a bullpen guy before, or Chris Bassett, who is kind of struggling right now at the starting pitcher role, and just slide him over there, and you don't have to jump through all of these hoops. That feels more natural to me than rushing Manoah back and doing all of that thing. And of course, there's the whole other argument as to, why would you rush him back when he's part of the future? Okay, this is an article here by Sports Illustrated talking about just the overall situation with him, and they say this is a huge step for Manoah, but Tommy John is no joke, and they're talking about his recent start because he did look, again, good. The stuff was good. Tommy John is no joke, and with the way the Jays are progressing this season, they will want to keep a watchful eye on his progress. There's no reason to rush anything, as the 27-year-old could prove vital to their future. And honestly, I think that's where I'm at right now. I think I tend to agree with Keegan. I think I agree with these articles here. I think that at this current juncture, while there's still a possibility that Alek Manoah could come back, it just feels unlikely to me, right? The Toronto Blue Jays are in a deep postseason race. Manoah's only got 5.1 innings under his belt. It just probably makes more sense and is better overall for him to let him cook in the minor leagues, to let him finish the season out with Buffalo, to let him just get his confidence back, get those innings under his belt. And then, you know what? In 2026, in spring training, we're starting fresh, and you're here, and you're in the mix for one of those rotational spots, rather than bringing him into the fold, having to send somebody else down, or, using one of your September call-ups on him, and then putting him into a position that he's never really been in before. So that's the latest with Alek Manoah, everybody. Kind of starting to look like he might not be up with the team in 2025. But you guys let me know your thoughts down below about all of this. Do you want to see Alek Manoah on the squad in 2025, or potentially maybe Mr. Trey Savage? Because that is also going to be a talking point and an option for the Toronto Blue Jays. Please make sure to hit that like button, smash the subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. And as always, go Jays, go.